Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our seminar, Horizon 2055. I should remind you that the byline for the seminar is philosophically exploring the present and creatively imagining the future. And this afternoon, we're going to be doing exactly that with Richard Swinney, who confronts us with the questionability of transhumanism. Richard is doing his doctorate at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and his primary research interests are the philosophy of hope and the existential philosophy of Gabriel Marcel. So he first did an MA at the University of Zululand, investigating the relations between hope and free choice. And in his doctorate, he's now asking whether there is any hope for hope itself in today's world, he says, of unrelenting despair. Richard, no. There is wonder and joy, I think, too. So I don't think, well, in any case, I hope that despair is not unrelenting. But on to what's happening today. Richard claims that part of transhumanism is the desire to live forever. And he's worried that this desire blinds one to the sacrifices entailed in this quest for, he calls it, deathlessness. So after a first foray into theatre writing, resulting in a one-act comic satire entitled Board of God Incorporated, Richard will be exploring transhumanism in a four-act play that he composed entitled The Transhuman. And I'm not going to say any more about it, no spoiler alerts or anything. And I will just hand over to you, Richard, to share your thoughts with us.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, okay, I'll start sharing my screen now. That one. Okay, everyone can see that. Let's do that. Okay. So thanks everyone for joining me today. And thank you also to the organizers of this seminar for the very unusual topic, at least for philosophy. And a special thanks to Aaron Smith for the artwork, which is just fantastic, I think. Anyway, so transhumanism is part of my PhD research. Insofar as I want to find out whether it's not just whether there's hope in it, but whether that hope is genuine or false. So I haven't gone very far down the transhuman rabbit hole, but I went down far enough. And one of the results is this play. And on that note, I must say one thing, that this is not a thesis theatre or a philosophy play. In line with the seminar, I'm imagining the future through art, not through philosophy. But that doesn't mean I'm not exploring certain philosophical ideas, but it's an exploration of ideas, not an argument. And with that, on with the show. So in today's presentation, I'll first briefly introduce transhumanism, or at least that aspect of it informing the basic idea behind the play. Then I'll give the cast of characters and stage settings, a synopsis of the four acts, before moving on to the play itself. So from Act 1 to Act 3, Scene 2, I'll give summaries and excerpts, but from then on, I'll read the rest of the play in full. But don't worry, Chair, you'll see that the scenes are short and to the point. Okay, so what is transhumanism? Okay, broadly, it can be defined as the deliberate or intentional project to overcome all human limitations by the unrestricted use of technology and applied science. So transhumanists often use the word post-human, but transhumanism is not the same as post-humanism. Okay, post-humanism is like a sort of umbrella term for any view that rejects the philosophical principles of humanism, primarily enlightenment in humanism, where a man is considered the measure of all things, and he's a rational animal facing an irrational universe, and and so on. Excuse me. So the transhumanists use the term post-human in a different sense. They mean not that what comes after humanism, but what comes after humanity itself, what comes after human beings. So a post-human could be thought of as an entirely new species, but it is a species that comes into being not through natural selection, but through human-induced or artificial selection, where the transhuman is a transitional stage between the human and the post-human. At any event, okay, the greatest limitation of all is, of course, death. And here I will quote one of the doyens of transhumanism, Natasha Rita Moore. At the core of transhumanism is the conviction that lifespan be extended, aging be reversed, and that death should be optional rather than compulsory. Now, it's naive to suppose that transhumanization, if I can call it that, will be available to all. So however this be accomplished, however lifespan be extended, aging be reversed, and however death be made optional rather than compulsory, whether through genetic engineering, bioenhancing, resurrection from cryonic suspension, regenerative medicine, mind uploading, whatever, it's going to be expensive, people. Now, some transhumanists have recognized this, and this is where biohacking comes in. Now, simply put, biohacking would be a black market transhumanism, or at least that's one interpretation of it. But this got me thinking, would there not be a third way, credit, for those who cannot afford to pay upfront, but are wary of going down the biohacking route? I mean, after all, that's the world we live in, a world of credit. But here's the thing, what if you can't pay back the money? So in our world, our human world, if you die and you're in debt, well, that's the end of that. Now, to be sure, your surviving relations might bear the brunt. Now, I'm not saying that to be cold-hearted. It's just that from the point of view of the dead person, nothing more can be done. You know, like the worst has already happened. But in this future world that the transhumanists are envisioning for us, would that any longer be the case? Especially if things are done by mind uploading. So mind uploading is central to the plot. So very briefly, it means transferring the mind and its contents. So yourself, so all your memories, all your experiences, all your emotions, everything that makes you, you, transferring all that to an inorganic substrate. Now, the substrate in question is commonly imagined to be a silicon one. So it means transferring the mind from the brain to a computer. Now, in that process, surely backups will be created in exactly the computing sense of that term. Now, couldn't your debtors just get hold of your backup? It's probably in the contract and upload you into a new clone, and then it would be like as you were. So that's the basic idea behind the play. But as you'll see, it grew from there. So it's got a very small cast of characters. There's the transhuman, abbreviated to TH. And then we, the audience, see him as a young man, as a middle-aged man, and as an old man. And then there's the supervisor, the transhumans contact with, the collective, who are an assembly of uploaded post-human minds. Then there's the transhuman son, a biohacker, and the transhuman's wife. And then there are various nurses, work colleagues, and a technician, not all of whom you will see today. So there are a few different stage settings, but one constant is a monitor facing the audience displaying the transhuman's life count. Then there's the supervisor's office, a private ward in a hospital owned by the collective, the transhuman's workplace, and his apartment. Now, in all the scenes associated with the collective, these are the office, the ward, and the workplace, the walls are plastered with corporate slogans. So in the supervisor's office, there's a sign on the back wall with a legend declaring the collective, living together forever. In the hospital ward, it says immortality for us. And in the workplace, it says working to death's end. So for a synopsis, Act 1, okay, TH is an old man. He applies for membership with the collective, but cannot afford admission. So the supervisor sets up a credit deal enabling TH to pay back the money in his next life. So in Act 2, TH is unable to pay back the debt in his next life, so he's forced to relife and continue payments. And then in his third life, he eventually traces his son, a biohacker, who infects him with a virus that steals trade secrets from the collective. As a result, TH is penalized by loss of benefits. In Act 3, TH's dead wife is resurrected as part of a new deal by the collective. The wife discovers she was murdered, blames TH for resurrecting her, and leaves him, which drives him to commit suicide, only to reawaken in Act 4 in hospital, where he's tortured into submission by being repeatedly killed and resurrected. So the opening scene of the play is by far the longest, excuse me, if only because it sets up the whole plot. So it's where we find a bit about the transhuman, his reasons for joining the collective, how membership with the collective works, and so on. So he's obviously, his life card is one, and he's being interviewed by the supervisor in her office. And I always imagine her to be a woman, a young woman, because that would be a nice foil, because he's an old man of 80 years or so. So we find out that he's a writer and a novelist, but he's not successful. He's divorced his second wife, who has since died, and lost contact with his son. But we also find out that his first wife was murdered soon after marriage, and the killer was never caught. So TH is not the murderer. As I say, they were high school sweethearts. This was the love of his life. And her murder scarred him so deeply, he just couldn't bear to be hurt like that again. So he pushes those closest to him away rather than bulking them in. Drawing them in. So as a result, he's cold and distant as a husband and father. So he alienates his son and eventually his long-suffering second wife, who supports him, and not just financially, while he struggles to get his thoughts down on paper. So his reasons for joining the collective is to find his son to make up for past mistakes. Because he's an old man, and you can feel that death is not far away. But he also admits he's scared of dying, especially of dying alone. So membership with the collective, I've devised a 3-tier system similar to like a South African medical aid scheme. Anyway, so tier 1, your mind is uploaded into a genetically perfected clone grown from your own DNA, and it's aged to 20 years. So I mean genetic perfected in the way that's like any genetic disorders or predispositions are removed. However, your new clone still ages. So you must repeat the procedure when you're old. I've made it at 70. So there's like a 50-year lifespan each time. So tier 2 is the same, but here you have unlimited access to regenerative medicine. So this means that your clone doesn't age. Each time you go to the doctor, you get a bit younger. So there's no need to repeat the procedure. And then tier 3 is full membership, where your mind is uploaded into the cloud, permanently joining the collective. And poor old TH cannot afford tier 1. So how about this, says the supervisor? The collective will learn the shortfall, and you'll get a retraining as a computer program code writer in your next life, or your tuition and living allowance will be paid. You'll get a job with the collective afterwards, and you pay back the loan, subject to targets met and everything. So of course he agrees to this because it seems like a good deal. So we go to scene 2, which is a very short scene in the hospital ward, and he undergoes the transhumanizing procedure. So there's no blood and guts here. I've made it very simple, just like swallowing a tablet. That is exactly what I've done. So it's like a large capsule filled with nanobots, and they assemble in the brain and start recording everything. This will be explained in the previous scene as well. So it's just like taking a sleeping pill, going to bed at night to sleep, and then waking up in the morning in your new body. So Act 2, scene 1 is again very short. His life count is now 2. So he awakens as a young man in hospital. And then scene 2, we see him as a middle-aged man, is at work, and he's looking back over the past 25 years. And he's straight through his re-education, he hasn't met his targets, and he's fallen behind his payments. Now, this is because he's not at all interested in what he's doing. He finds it immensely boring. He's a person of letters rather than a person of numbers or science. And in any case, AI does most of the actual work. And then in scene 3, he's back in the supervisor's office as an old man. He's still in debt, so he has to relife and continue payments. And then Act 2, Scene 4, his life count is 3. And now he's again middle-aged, and he finally traces his son, who's a biohacker involved in black market transhumanism. But they soon fall out. The son blames TH for his mother's divorce and her early death, and besides their differing ideologies, because to the son, the collective is the man, or big brother in an Orwellian language. So the son, in fact, despises his father and everything he stands for. So he has no compunction whatsoever in infecting with a virus that steals trade secrets and personal information of members from the collective. So as a result, TH is penalized and he's barred from Tier 2 status for one more life. So here I'll take you near to the end of the final scene of Act 2. He's again an old man, and he's in the supervisor's office for what I've facetiously called his end-of-term review. Okay, by this time, he's paid back his debt to the collective, but he doesn't want to come back. Okay, not if it means going through the whole aging process again. And also he's been, again, deeply hurt by his son's betrayal and vengeance. So we pick it up mid-speech here. I'm just so tired. I can't do this anymore. Please, I want to die. Are you sure? Or is there not anything that could make you reconsider? No. What about getting your wife back? Your first wife? Don't be daft. How is that possible? I'll let the collective tell you. They have a very important announcement. So the collective always speaks with a slight echo. So as of hundreds of voices speaking in unison. And this will obviously be done by loudspeakers. So after decades of intensive research, of which even you have contributed a small part, we are overjoyed to announce the single greatest breakthrough in our joint fight against death. The latest advances in space-time engineering have enabled us to retrieve all past information in every detail. We are thus able to resurrect any human being from any era so that they may join us in eternal communion, in eternal happiness. We have spoken. So TH agrees to this. Okay, it'll plunge him back into debt, but that doesn't matter anymore. Okay, he'll do anything to get his first wife, and he feels that together they can face anything. So Act 3, his life count is now 4. Scene 1 is again very short. Okay, he's a young man seated beside his wife's bed when she wakes, and she says on waking, "What is this? I remember. Is it really you? Oh, my love." And they embrace. End of scene. And then scene 2, everything starts to go wrong. Okay, this is in his apartment, and just to give you an idea how I imagine it, okay, there's a bed center stage. On the one side is like a open plan kitchenette diner, and the other side is like a door to the bathroom and another door to the outside world. So they're in bed together, probably as young couples do, discussing their future together. But he slips up in his enthusiasm and blows the cover story devised by the collective, which was that she'd been in a coma after an accident, her memory of the event having been erased. And says TH, "And when our baby is born," our baby interrupts what? "I'm not pregnant." "Oh, of course not. I just got a bit carried away." "Do you know," says wife, "I have the strangest feeling of deja vu. I'm sure we've had the same conversation, and I was pregnant. I must have dreamt it." So as I said, I'm going to read the rest of the play from here in full, except for a few lines and speeches here and there. But I'm not going to read out all the stage directions, okay? If only because the eye reads quicker than the mouth speaks. So you guys will be able to skim them before I can actually say them. Besides, it interrupts the flow of the dialogue. So Act 3, Scene 3. Okay, it's in TH's apartment, and the wife is seated on the end of the bed scrolling through an e-tablet. And she reads off the tablet. Horrific slaying of young pregnant women. Frenzied attack by unknown assailant. Multiple stab wounds. Husband distraught, cleared of all suspicion. No new leads in decades-old cold case. Depraved killer still at large. Oh God. Am I alive or am I dead? Is there any difference? Where did they get me from? I remember being surrounded by light and peace. Was I in heaven? Is there still a part of me in heaven? Or is this hell? Dead yet alive. Undead. Am I a ghost? A lost soul? A zombie? What am I? Enter TH. You stay away from me. What's wrong, dear? What have you done to me? There was no accident or coma. I was dead. I was murdered, wasn't I? Yes, Why? Why did you bring me back? I was somewhere beautiful, and you brought me back to this? I wasn't thinking. I just missed you so much. I'm sorry. Sorry? Sorry? And my murderer? My God, I can't believe I'm actually saying this. Whoever killed me was never caught? No. So he still could be out there waiting to kill me again? It was nearly 200 years ago. I'm sure he's dead by now. Why should he be dead? So was I. What have you done to me? I'm dead. Dead, do you hear? Dead. You're speaking to a corpse, a living corpse. And she flees distraught. Exit wife. No, no, please come back, come back. And he falls to his knees sobbing. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So this is the central speech of the play, and it's something I'm still working on, if only because I have to find a plausible way for him to come into possession of a handgun. But anyway, you'll get the gist of it. What have I done? What have I become? It's all lies, lies. There is no life after death, no living together forever. There is no future, no hope, only the dismal repetition of present misery. There is only death after death. Oh. She's right. Wife is right. I'm also dead. We're all dead in this brave new world of ours. I died the moment I lay down on that hospital bed as an old man. Oh, why could I not have been satisfied with my lot? And now, without you, my love, there is only one escape. So Act 4, Scene 1, life count 5. He wakes up in hospital and he just starts screaming, no, 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 no. Enter nurses. Restrain him. So nurses bind to the bed, etc. And eventually screaming subsides to a breathless whimper. Leave me alone. I want to die. As you wish. And he's put to death. Scene 2. Life count 6. Feeling any more rational? Screaming will not help. What have you done with my wife? Don't you worry about her. We have special plans for her. We, and in amongst all the we's is a single but distinct I. We killed it once already. We look forward to killing her again. You fucking bastards! How do you think we got away with it for so long? Ah, one of our founders. Do you think we would betray one of our own? We remember it well. The exhilaration of the kill, the power, and we have always sought power. And now you are here. It's all very satisfying, all very poetic. The circle is complete. I'll kill you, I'll kill you, I'll kill you. No, we'll kill you. Scene 3, life count 7. Please, please help me, make it stop. But the nurses are too scared to intervene. And anyway, what could they do? You know, this is really most tiresome. How long are you going to keep this up? We have plenty more clones lined up. We'll just have to keep at it until you submit. Please stop. I'll pay back the money. Give me a chance to pay it back. The money? This isn't about the money. We have more than enough to spare. Your might is of no concern to us. Why are you doing this to me? Because we can. Do you not see? Everything about you, every atom, every molecule in your body, all your thoughts and ideas, everything, it all belongs to us. We own you. You're nothing but a product, a malfunctioning appliance that needs fixing. We'll keep on fixing until it comes right. God help me. God? God. We are God. We created you. We gave you life. We sustain you. Nothing you think or do is not unknown to us. Now bow before your makers. Never. You lie. You're not God. You're all dead, just like me. Ha! Digital ghosts playing at being alive. We gave you life. We can just as easily take it away. 4, life count 8, and this time he awakens as an old man. Yes, living in an 80-year-old body must be painful, mustn't it? Frail bones, arthritic joints, your weak old heart laboring, desperately struggling for enough oxygen to keep you alive. Did you never wonder what happened to your original body? You will stay in this body, fighting the pain every day, with just enough regenerative treatment to keep you alive and dementia at bay. Do you want to live like this forever? What was that you said? What happened to living together forever? Did you not read the writing on the wall? It's immortality for us, not for you. What do you want from me? Everything. Your memories, your experiences, your feelings, your intellect, your mind, your soul. Ah, we see your heart cannot take the strain. We will let you die naturally for once. Act 5, life count 9, silence. Unbind him and leave us. Exit nurses with extreme alacrity. Rise. Frankly, we are impressed. Not many of you people hold out so long. We had you marked down as a weak-willed pushover. The fire in your soul is something we will always cherish. You see, artificial intelligence may be intelligence, but it's artificial. It's not real. We crave real living memories, real experiences and emotions to sustain us, to prevent us getting bored in our prison of eternity. You will do nicely. We look forward to replaying you at great length. And then during this whole speech, a technician comes on stage wheeling a small trolley, on which is placed a small black box, and the tech plugs a cable from the box into a port on the back of TH's head, exit tech. We have grown a custom-made brain, an organic computer exactly duplicating your neural architecture in every detail. After all, your memories, experiences, and emotions are best accessed by your brain. Without your brain, they are pale copies of the real thing. You will be a server for us, a slave server, feeding us memories on demand. Living together forever? In a way, yes. And now, all that remains is the transfer. And he presses a button on the console, instantly collapsing. Good Transhuman. Welcome to the collective. And that's all, folks. Well, not quite. In one very short final scene, we see the technician wheeling the trolley through an enormous warehouse where the transhuman is slotted neatly into place alongside millions of others. But it's more dramatic to end it there. And that's that.
Okay, thanks, Richard. Ow. Yeah, looks lots of clapping hands. I'm sure there are lots of people that would like to make comments, ask you questions. I have a whole list of them too, so, but I would love to hear from other people first. So yes, who shall we? Is there anyone who would like to sort of comment or questions? Even if it's just to what is the word? What shall we say? Motivate your hand clapping. But I see Gary has raised his hand, so let's let Gary kick off while you think about what to suggest or say. Gary?
Thanks, Andrew. And Richard, thank you. That's a very thought-provoking play.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you just could comment a bit on the transhuman thing around the fight against death. Why do you think, I'm interested in why are we so caught up in the thing of not dying or, sort of continuing to live, whether that seems to be a sort of central theme to the idea of transhumanism.
Yes, yeah, yeah. It is very central, yeah. So like this, yeah, it's not it's living together, living forever. But as I saw it, this whole resurrection thing, the resurrection of the dead, that goes way beyond just living forever for yourself or for your friends, So that whole space-time engineering, it all sounds very science fiction-y, and the strange thing is, it seems to be the other way around, that the science fiction writers are getting the ideas from the transhumanists. And like, there's some things that the sci-fi writers won't even touch in transhumanism. Like, it's some really weird things. But anyway, like the resurrection of the dead and the space-time engineering. Yeah, it's very odd. What was I going to say? Yeah. Okay. Let me just get my thoughts together and turn on the battery. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should, just to spark that thought, is would you want to live forever? I mean, is that something you personally desire?
No, I don't think, no. Yeah, I don't see the point of doing it. It's part of being human is actually dying. That's just how you have to accept that, and that's the problem with the transhumans. They can't accept these things. They think that solving death basically will solve all problems. Once we no longer have this fear of death hanging over us, we will be absolutely free to do what we want. And yeah.
Right. Thanks.
The resurrection of the dead, yeah. So the transhumanists are talking about this, and they're talking about creating a sort of like post-human heaven in this world, and they're talking about resurrecting every human being that has ever lived. Okay, here I've compressed the time scale. This like space-time quantum engineering stuff. It's only thought to take place thousands or maybe millions of years hence. But anyway, that's the magic of theatre or art generally. You don't have to, stick to the rules. But anyway, yeah. So they're talking about creating a post-human heaven here. But that made me think, if there's going to be a post-human heaven, there's also going to be a post-human hell. Because it's going to mean resurrecting also people like Hitler and Stalin and Mary Cotton and Myra Hindley and all these people. But it also means resurrecting all their victims, which just seems to me bonkers. It's so okay, Christians like at least have the consolation of the surefire knowledge that someone like Hitler is suffering eternal damnation in hell. But for non-Christians, that's just an attractive idea, and that's all it is. Yeah. So I was thinking what the transtuners might do is, look, I'm speaking ironically here, and I'm not supporting this, very far from it, is, resurrect someone like Hitler and construct a special hell for him here in this world. Like maybe he could be, tortured on a daily basis or put to death once a month, and all his victims could be paraded in front of him. But it's just, it's just bonkers. I mean, yeah,
Richard,
yeah.
Izzy has there were two of you there, so I'm not really sure, but do you want to come in and just maybe, I think I need to put your video on. There you go. And maybe ask to unmute.
Okay.
Perfect. There you
Okay.
are.
Hi,
Okay.
Richard. Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone. Rich, I thought that was amazing, and it really does start making me think about how human beings fear death. Wanting to control every aspect of life, and the extent that greed and power will take you. I mean, the whole thought to me about not dying and reliving the same life and trying to make it different is completely absurd. And I think no outcome would ever be good if one tried to do that, because you're trying to control something that you absolutely can't. So I thought it was a brilliant play. I thought you spoke excellently, and it's I'm not going down that rabbit hole because I think it sounds like a complete nightmare, and it's a place where monsters are born. But anyway, thank you so much.
The pleasure. In response, like the transhumanists say that eventually our post-human descendants will gain, like, because of the progress of science and technology, that they'll gain such control of everything, that like their internal states even, so that they could actually they think switch off all those negative feelings like despair and depression and hopelessness and all those negative. They could actually turn them off, and so they never experience them. And this is the whole point. These are existential feelings. Then they're not something that can be turned off like that. And that's transhumanists are very confused, and I mean, that they can be.
Even though these feelings are not nice to go through, you go through them, and that's what makes life. That's what gives our life a bit of depth. Imagine just being happy all the time.
Exactly.
I think even that you would want to die after a while, because it's just, you have nothing to compare it to. Okay, cool. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. There are a couple of hands up. I think we'll Jean first, and then we'll move to Nathan, and then to Alex. So let's just do it in that order. So Jean.
Okay, Richard, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it, and it's something different to put yourself out there creatively, than just presenting a philosophy paper. It really is something else. So I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And I have a bit of a question about the medium of science fiction. I've always thought that science fiction links very well with philosophy. In philosophy we do thought experiments, and science fiction can kind of illustrate these thought experiments on an elevated stage. And it's important as well because science fiction gives us an image of the future, which sometimes we start to enact. Now, science fiction writers differ to a large extent, I think, from the kind of Silicon Valley tech bros that are also pushing the transhumanist idea. In science fiction, we've got irony, messaging in certain ways. There's ways to deal with these issues in a more moral sense. But I find that, these tech bros like Musk don't really have a sense of irony in dealing with these issues.
No.
So I'm just wondering, could you give me your thoughts on science fiction as a medium for philosophy, and also how that medium kind of differs from what we're actually seeing happening in the world today with people like Musk pushing their ideas?
Yes, I think science fiction has a place. Yeah, it's, well, I don't know if I'd call it an important place, but it's, yeah, it's as you said, it shows things how things could be in the future, not necessarily how they will be. Yes, and I suppose that is the difference between the science fiction writers and Musk and all these people. They are trying to make their own vision of reality actually a reality, whereas the science fiction writers are, you know, that's all irony and satire, and well, some of them, you know, yeah, and they're not actually. I don't think, at least not all of them, are proposing that they want this world, this new world to be. They just, yeah, as I say, envisaging a possible future, like I've done here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Thank
does
you,
that answer
Richard.
you? Thank
Yeah,
you.
that helps. Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks, John. Nathan?
Will you just let me be on video?
Yes, sorry, that's me. There we go. Does that help? Yes.
Cool, thank you. So, Richard, that was really cool. And as
Thank
John
you.
said, I think it is very cool that you've been creative with it. Like, some of the best ideas are portrayed in art, and I think that was a very cool way, because you write stuff, you can read a thesis, but you don't feel, and I think feeling is a big part of information. I think they both go hand in hand. So I think that was really cool. And the way it's very Shakespearean. It's like a Shakespearean tragedy. Especially his first suicide. Until then, it was really Shakespearean. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And the fact that you made it after that, and just the whole idea was that death wasn't. They made it almost like a currency, like it lost all value, which I think is really cool. The fact that yeah, like they artificially trying to gain this power caused one half of humans' existence to, and obviously life itself, so both of it to lose both all its value, both life and death. So I think that was cool. It was like, yeah, it was very smart.
Thank you. What you said there about making death a currency, I hadn't thought of that before, but that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, it's yeah. Thank you. Yes, thanks, Nathan.
Cool. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Richard.
Sure.
Thank you. Alex?
Hey everyone, thanks Richard. You know, as a budding poet, I understand how nerve-wracking it can be to present one's creative work to an audience. So thank you for your bravery.
Yeah.
I would just like your thoughts on how it seems to me that treating disease is in some sense a transhumanist act, because for most of human life, for instance, tuberculosis has been the leading cause of death. And the rallying efforts to try and find a cure is certainly not natural. And at least to my awareness, I'm not sure of other species that try to engage in the same effort or create the same mechanisms as to find a cure. Because tuberculosis in many ways was certain death prior to the 1880s.
Yeah.
So I suppose does that mean if we've overcome death in a sense, that we're already transhumanist? Or does that period in human history, given the great sacrifice people made to try and find a cure, instills some hope that
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Okay, so for the transhumanists, aging itself is a disease. They interpret it as a disease. And it's the leading cause of death after all, you know, old age. So this is where regenerative medicine comes in. You know, it's all about regenerating the human organism, your body. So, like if you had your were in an accident or something and you had to have a leg amputated or whatever. Okay, so at the moment you had to rely on prosthetics, but with regenerative medicine, you just grow your own leg back. So, and I think you're right. I think regenerative medicine is a very, very good idea. I mean, the research is currently underway. I mean, like for example, for disabled people, you know, and for like things like dementia. I mean, and this is the thing about regenerative medicine in particular, that they're worried that it's mostly about geriatrics, and it's giving old people a bearable life. Now, all that is fine, I think, but it's going beyond that and taking regenerative medicine, what they call longevity escape velocity. So it means that science and technology will eventually start progressing at such a rate that regenerative medicine, like as I say, every time you go to the doctor, you'll get younger. So you won't actually age anymore. And that's where it all starts to go wrong, I think. Yeah. This lust for immortality. That's the thing. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. So there is some hope there, but overall, I think that there's no hope in it. Yeah. It'll betray us in the end.
Okay, Richard. Thanks. There's something I want to ask you, and this is as a philosopher, because I think that your play at a kind of an emotional and gut level is really what is the word, strong and gut wrenching in a way. It made me feel quite ill at some point, and I thought, okay, it's striking me in all the right places, because that's what you want, is to create this of in a way horror. So I mean, in that sense, I think your play really works as well. But one of the things that kind of I suppose I kept stumbling over as a kind of a rational philosophy being, is that it seems like your imagination of how transhumanism would play out in the future depends very much on the mind-body dualism. And I don't buy that. It's a complex world. We're a complex body subjects. You cannot just upload your mind and think that that's you. So
exactly.
Yeah, so that's something that worried me in you know, in your unpacking. I was kind of curious about how you would resolve that.
You see, the whole mind-body thing is yeah, that's a transhumanist assumption, I think. Yeah. Again, I don't agree with that. I don't think, again, that there are experiments underway about human-computer interactions, you know, direct interactions. And for example, you think of prosthetics that you can move just by thought, you know, things like that. Yes, so but again, transferring your whole mind, I don't think that'll transfer you. It'll transfer something, like a copy. Yeah, but a copy is not the real thing. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. Yeah, I don't think I don't think it is what it purports to be. Yeah. 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 Does that answer you?
Not really, but sort of. I mean, I'm with you, but I mean, your play does assume that that it does work to make TH come back as himself every time.
Yes.
but he can't, I think, but I'm not sure. So, I mean, it was just something
Also, I'm not sure. Yeah. There is a paper about this, a philosophical paper, but I haven't been able to source it yet. Yeah, about this very topic. Yeah, about whether mind uploading is in fact realizable, put it that way, in reality. Yeah, and personally, I don't think it is.
No.
And,
Yeah.
And even if it would be it'll only delay the inevitable. Okay, so imagine you're on, it's like eventually the universe itself is going to come to an end, you know? That's how it ended. I think that the transhumanists are fooling themselves that they can live forever. And that's the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, good. Thank you. Nathan, I see your hand is up.
I just wanted to say, I thought about your question as well when they brought the wife back. I assumed that Richard was going to bring her back and she was going to be different. And obviously, when you're in a loving relationship, you understand someone fully, and then they would have been like, "Oh, you're not the same person." But I think his play doesn't. You don't necessarily have to deal with that, because what the play does deal with is quite an extreme ideal. And if it was like it could even be a series of plays where there's another story of something where that does happen. I think this, it deals with one specific part of it, the most extreme part. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Nathan. I was actually thinking about putting all that stuff into the play, but then it would just become too long and tiresome. I want it to be short and sharp. Yeah. So I want to focus on certain aspects, and leave it up to the audience's imagination to fill in all the background, basically.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thanks. Matthias, I see your hand is clapping away. Would you like to speak to that?
Oh yeah, okay. Yes, well, thank you very much, Richard. I really enjoyed your reading of your play very much. I think it's very powerful. It's always a little bit difficult to respond to sort of a non-philosophical paper. But I do want to bring it back a little bit to philosophy. And maybe it's just a simple thought. So if you think of existentialist philosophy, which I believe you are also sort of well versed in, mortality, obviously, finitude. I mean, that's one of the big concepts, right? So in a sense, most existentialist philosophies somehow center around this inevitability of death. And of course, I mean, the most iconic example would be Heidegger, being towards death. In a sense, you could say his entire existentialist architecture of concepts, it all resolves around this this thing that we need to existentially deal with, our finitude, mortality. So obviously transhumanism would take that away in a certain sense. So you could say, so my question is, would that just obliterate existentialism as a framework for thinking about what it would be to be transhuman? Or just thinking of Heidegger, for instance, obviously the inauthentic life as a life which does not want to know about finitude would then, in a sense, also be somewhat structurally homologous to the transhuman life, which also, doesn't want to know about mortality or represses it. So are there concepts from sort of the existentialist thinkers that would still be deployable in trying to do a philosophical analysis of transhuman life? Or do we have to actually think of an entire different framework.
Yes, that's a very interesting question. So yeah, I think existential philosophy will always have a place. Yeah, it can't be buried. And I think for the transhumanists, that's what they want to do, is to bury it and to say, okay, that's done and dusted. That's fine. We'll carry on as we are. Yes, but whether existential philosophy will ever survive in this new world because it's been buried, I don't know.
But it seems as if, yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it can be. It'll grow and flourish underground. I suppose I can put it that way.
Yeah, but it seems as if, I mean, there's obviously some kind of existentialist crisis also in that transhuman future, where they say in your play, as I follow it, they sort of need those I don't know, emotions, real emotions, in order not to be bored stiff, in a sense.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe boredom as a kind of existentialist notion, perhaps,
yes,
would be central in the analysis of transhuman life.
That's yes. Yeah. With the transhumanists themselves often talk of boredom. I mean, what do you do for the next trillion years? And they often answer with all these like mundane things. Oh, I'll read the 600 volumes of the greatest writers in the world, and this and that and that. But that'll only last so long. And also, as you say, it's not boredom per se. It's an existential boredom. It's a tedium vitae. Yeah, it's a boredom with life itself. And in this transhuman world, I don't think that they'll have the psychological equipment to deal with that anymore. Because as Sarah was saying, they'll just block out all of that, and they'll just carry on regardless, sort of thing. And it'll always be there under the ground, in the back. How can I say it? It's not something thought; it's something felt.
But I think also what your play suggests is almost a kind of to entertain the transhumans or to make them feel excited. They're almost sort of dealing in these real memories, almost like we go to in the olden days maybe we watch a movie.
Yes.
We have a boring life, but when we see an action movie, we can, at least for 2 hours, we can pretend to be, an action hero. So it seems as if it's the same kind of.
That's the sort of thing I had in mind. Yeah. But the thing is, you will actually it's not just watching it. The way I've imagined it, you'll actually be feeling all these things yourself.
Obviously,
if you can call it a self. And then you can actually playing someone's life, and you can go back and rewind it and play it again, and
Just a final challenge. Also write a comedy.
Wasn't this one?
As a sort of or maybe a trilogy, like tragedy, comedy, maybe a farce or whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Matthias. Good to see you again.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I think we're edging towards time. Are there burning questions? Anybody want to? I have one other quick little thing that I want to think about a bit, and that is the paradox. That's again with complexity. The paradox that there is only living if there is death. That you cannot have living without death. And if you did have living without death, it would be called cancer. So cancer, in a way, are cells that have forgotten how to die properly. And if we were to resurrect all the blooming humans that ever were, wouldn't that just be cancer? where we destroy the organism that sustains us. Could there be no space? We wouldn't be able to breathe anymore. We'd be sucking up all the oxygen. We'd be kind of excreting all sorts of carbon dioxide and all of that. And we'd actually just kill ourselves by trying to live as cancerous, I don't know, units.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you, yes.
Okay, good. Izzy, a quick last response? Do I need to? Hang on. Sorry, Izzy, we need to unmute you. How do we do that?
Yes, okay, you can hear me. Just on the last Matthias's perspective, I thought, and what I was thinking about is everything has to have an end and a beginning. And the purpose of life for many people, whether it be spiritual or philosophical, is what is the meaning of life? So as a transhuman person, have they answered that question because there's no more death?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, would we really need to know that much if we're going to live forever and just presume that it's going to fall into our laps without giving it any thought or struggle to find the answer?
Yeah. I suppose that they don't actually explicitly answer it. That they say that once we live forever, we will find meaning forever, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Shame. I don't agree with that. I think we need our struggles and a time frame to try and deal with it. But anyway, thanks so much for letting me comment on that.
Okay, thanks everyone. And Richard, thank you for a very thought-provoking play that I think has got everybody kind of, interested and excited and talking about all sorts of different aspects. So yeah, that's a sign of a very successful kind of I'm not going to say intervention because you weren't intervention, but a successful thing. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing it with us. And yeah, I second Matthias's challenge to make a comedy as well, where there isn't what was it, relentless despair.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so in the meantime, everybody have a wonderful weekend. We will be hearing from Alex, not next week, because next week is yet another holiday, but the week after that. Alex will be talking to us about something medical, but Alex, apologies, I can't completely remember what it is, but help me.
Oh, sorry, Andrea. It's about the status of the science in psychotherapy and psychiatry and how art can shape the future of medicine.
Fabulous. Okay, thank you. Yes, sorry. So we'll look forward to that in 2 weeks' time. Okay, in the meantime, please have a somehow an uplifting weekend. Don't think too hard about Richard's very provocative play. But thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks.